Hey guys, Phil here, Doctor of Physical Therapy. Today we're going to talk about how to walk. Walking is something that's so natural, so simple, we do it without even thinking about it. But here's how to walk from a PT's perspective. Right off the bat, I'm going to put a disclaimer here. Everybody walks a little differently. We're all naturally built a little bit different. Some people have higher arches or lower arches. Some people have longer, shorter legs. All of these are natural variations that we all have. Sometimes it can be overwhelming and we can get caught up in all these little details. But for the most part, you don't have to worry too much about these little asymmetries. There's no one size fits all style of walking. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into how to walk. When we talk about walking, I want you to think about 3 points of contact. Your heel, the ball of your pinky toe, and the ball of your big toe. With every step, I want you to land first on your heel, then roll out to the ball of your pinky toe, and finally onto the ball of your big toe. It's important for you to relax your toes while you're walking. Because if you think about it, your toes are not designed to do all these big movements. We want to be efficient. We don't want to use your toes to walk. So what we're looking for is not a whole lot of weird gripping or excessive lifting of your toes. Just keep them relaxed as you roll onto your toes. As you roll through your toes, naturally you'll have a little stretch of your plantar fascia, which is the big piece of tissue at the bottom of your foot. So you'll use that energy to propel you forward. Next, we're going to talk about what's happening at your ankles. So basically you have these two movements called pronation or supination. You've probably heard of this before. So pronation happens when your arch rolls in and collapses. This is a natural part of movement. So every time you take a step, you're going to pronate. The purpose of this movement is to absorb shock. So every time you take a step, this will happen. Some people demonize this movement and try to wear bulky supportive shoes or orthotics to try to correct it. But in reality, this is part of our normal function. And supination just refers to the opposite. So this is when you create an arch. So basically your foot gets a little bit more rigid, a little bit more stable so that you can push off of something stable. If you think about it, when you want to push off and create energy, you don't want to be all floppy. You want to be rigid so you can kind of generate some more force. So think pronation, floppy foot to absorb shock. Supination, rigid foot to generate force. So how do these movements fit into walking? So remember those 3 points of contact that we talked about? Your heel lands, rolling out to the ball of your pinky toe and then onto your big toe. Naturally, when that happens, you have a little bit of pronation, shock absorption, and then when you roll off, naturally your ankle will supinate a little bit to create that rigid foot so you can produce some force and push off. So naturally, you're always pronating and supinating day in and day out without even thinking about it. So moving up the body. Next, I want to talk about your rotation of your feet. So you hear this very often. Some people are more toed in or some people are more toed out. And honestly, it all depends on your anatomy. Sometimes we naturally have a little bit more of what's called tibial rotation, which just means your shin bones are naturally rotated out. Or sometimes you have a little bit less of that, so they're more rotated in. It could also stem from your hips. Maybe you have a little bit more external rotation, or maybe you have a little less, and that's okay. A lot of times these exercise gurus and experts will tell you have to do things a certain way. Like you have to point your toes, squat with your toes forward, or walk with your toes forward, knees straight. But in reality, we're all different. The body is adaptable and there's no one perfect way to walk. You just have to figure out what's best for your body. And quite honestly, most people's walking do not need fixing. However, there are times when people are doing something that may be a little bit too extreme. So here are some examples of that. You could be a toe walker. I've seen patients that walk like this. Could you walk like this and have absolutely no issues? Yes. But it's probably not the most effective and efficient strategy of walking. Walking like this could potentially put a lot more strain on your calves and your ankles. It's kind of like the whole barefoot running movement, which is a whole nother topic for another video. Basically, if you're always landing on your toes, that puts a lot more demand on your muscles. So for this particular patient of mine, she was dealing with some muscle overuse issues during her sport, which involved a lot of running. And once we corrected her form and changed the way she walked, she quickly got better. Another example is excessive toe in. Again, this may or may not be a problem. We might not even need to correct it. But sometimes the ankle might be too aggressive for the rest of your body. If you think about it, when you're walking, you want to go forward. And actually, if you're toed in, your knees would come together, your hips will roll in, and it ends up being a less efficient strategy for walking. Next, we're going to talk about excessive toe out. So it's the same idea. If you're too toed out, sometimes that can lead to a lot of pronation, which just means your ankles roll in, knees would follow after that, which may not be the most efficient. Extremes. How do you figure out what strategy works for you? One simple way to figure that out is to simply walk fast. Yep, just simply walk fast like you're trying to catch a plane, the plane's leaving. Remember, walking is a natural movement for our bodies, so don't overcomplicate it, just trust your body, just walk, and you'll figure it out. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments below. If you liked it, you can like it, and subscribe if you want, there's more to come.